Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. And, this is another episode of the Bodacious Rant with the ever so loving and handsome Burn and Rye. More Rye than Burn. But
I was going to say, am I the loving one or the handsome one? Which one is? I'll take either one.
I think you're just you. Let's just go with that. You just be you, Burn. Nah, I'm just kidding. You're both. Of course, our little goose. Anyways, tonight we are that's another episode of Moon Knight just dropped, and needless to say, some people I've spoken to, they really liked it a lot more than the first one. I like it about on par. I thought there was some cool stuff, some frustrating moments with me character wise, but other than that, it was thoroughly.
I'm curious to know what.
Well, we're gonna dive right into it after Burn. We're gonna dive into the spoilers, aren't we? But yeah, overall, like I said, I think so far this definitely has a strong start, and then at least the second episode didn't kind of dip or something like that. Because I feel like, I know we talked about before how some shows kind of do that, where either they'll start weak, have a better episode, or start strong, have a not so good episode right after. But so far, at least we're 2 for 2 in my opinion. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Yeah, with this show, at least the first 2 episodes so far, both consistently really good. Like you said, there wasn't a drop off or anything for me. It felt like a natural continuation of last week's episode, which is a good thing because, like you said, the same can be said about a lot of the other Disney Plus series and the Marvel shows in particular. But yeah. I like this one a lot, and I'm very much enjoying this show.
I'm digging it. Like I said, Oscar Isaac, he's just a gentleman and a scholar. Ethan Hawke it's really funny. I've been thinking about Ethan Hawke's career, and he's one of those, he's a bit of a maverick. He'll be in some really crazy roles or random movies that you would just why is Ethan Hawke in this? Mm-hmm. And then others, he's just a dramatic genius. So it's man, again, just it's good when you have a bunch of actors with quite the range. So I'm digging it so far. The cast especially, very well acted. I think one of the strongest acting, at least since, I think Loki and WandaVision had the strongest acting moments for the most part. Falcon and Winter Soldier wasn't bad, but just overall, I think it was just the dialogue in Falcon and Winter Soldier that was kind of it didn't help. But what do you say? Shall we dive into the spoilers, Burn?
Yeah, I'm ready to get right into it, man. Lots of cool stuff to talk about in this episode. So, to get the spoilers going. But before we do that, folks, remember, go ahead, give us a like, give us a subscribe, or hit the bell and stuff too, because that really helps us a lot. So, I know you hear from a lot of other YouTube peoples, but it's just par for the course. We got to play to win the game.
Yeah, you got to play it right. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. If you can't win the game, then, you just got to let it die in your sleep. I forgot how that song goes. It doesn't matter. Let's get to it, shall we, Burn?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Anyways, so I like that this episode it felt natural that it took place, the next day after the whole Jackal beatdown. And I like how he's talking to the security guard. Jackal! It's a jackal! Jackal! I just kept thinking of Family Guy.
I was attacked by a jackal! It's okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one.
No, every time they say jackal, I always think of Family Guy, that one scene. But, that was pretty crazy that it literally is all in his head, essentially, the supernatural stuff. Not every... Well, at least the night before where, he... Actually, we don't see him turn into the suit, so that's actually real. But the jackal and stuff, that was fuck. He definitely comes off like a crazy dude. So I still kind of felt for Steven, but it's more along how the episode went. I just started getting annoyed with him real quick, just because, I understand why he would. I think any sane person would feel the way he's feeling, but it's dude, with everything going on, maybe you should kind of listen to whatever's happening, to your other self that's kind of knows and seems self-aware. When he kind of starts tracking himself down, aka Marc. And I like when he's talking to the guy. He's like, I'm named Marc, no surname, just Marc,
Just Marc.
He's like, number 43. I recognize that face. It's oh, well, that's easy. I just oh, yeah, that's pretty much it. And that was a pretty cool reveal, how Marc is essentially, exactly how I imagined it, living in almost a military kind of style,
living in a storage container basically with a lot of his supplies and stuff. That was a really cool reveal.
very Punisher, Nick Fury-esque character. So I think that's how he is in the comics too. I'm not 1,000% sure. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a mercenary in the comics and stuff. So I mean, this tracks pretty much for the most part, at least from what little I know of Marc Spector as a character. That this seems to be like pretty accurate.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool, but it's just, when Marc is talking to him again, Marc and Steven's just back and forth. I just started getting annoyed with him because it's like, dude, you just don't. Obviously, you're not mentally equipped to handle what's going on. And again, I can see that he's freaking out. It's on his head. Very well acted. Like, again, it makes me want to. As much as he annoys me, I do agree with Steven that this is a whole bunch of shit. But it's like, Marc clearly knows what's going on. He obviously saved you guys' life last night. Why not listen to the dude? That's where I was starting to get annoyed with him more so than anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, I disagree. I think, Steven was well within his rights to be frustrated at the situation because, yeah, like Marc did end up saving him, but he's also the one that's putting him in these very precarious situations. Like it's him, the one that took them to that village in I forgot where country that they were in the first episode. But yeah, it's like he's the one that's basically doing all this globetrotting and essentially ruining Steven's personal life, which he has no control of, and that's pretty sad to see. So I understand his frustration with Marc because it's like, dude, you're keeping me in the dark, but at the same time you're ruining my personal life. So it's like you don't have a leg to stand on. Like, you're telling me to not pry into things, but for his own sanity, he kind of has to, because like he needs to know what's happening to him when he goes to sleep, quote unquote.
Yeah. No, again, I totally understand that. But it was more of like when we finally meet Layla. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Did she have an accent or is she American? I couldn't quite tell.
No, she has a bit of an accent. I couldn't put it to what it was. I think she's Egyptian, actually. The actress herself. So I don't know if the character is. But yeah, she did have a bit of an accent that it was very like faint. It was like almost Americanized, but yeah, there was something there.
Yeah, I couldn't quite tell because I was listening to it and like it's the way she said certain words. I'm like, are you supposed to be like English or something? I don't know. I couldn't. It's not that it's a big deal, but I just want to make sure I wasn't hearing stuff. I'm not turning into Steven. But I like that we got to see her, and she almost reminded me of what's the girl's name that's gonna be She-Hulk? They kind of looked a lot alike.
Oh, Tatiana Maslany. She actually reminded me of Haley John Common. I believe that's her name. She played the ghost in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And Hannah John Common, I think. And then she was also Claire in the most recent Resident Evil movie. They seem kind of similar. I think it's mostly the hair.
I could kind of see that.
I thought it was her for a second. I was like, oh, did they recast her like in the MCU? I know they've done it with like Gemma Chan, but it was like that's kind of interesting to do that with this character. But it wasn't. It was a completely different actress.
Yeah. No, but anyways, I thought I like that she's just not buying it. Like even she doesn't comprehend what's going on, and it's just fueling the frustration. But what annoyed me too is when he's just like Marc is telling him, please stop, don't show her shit, and then he's like, I'm just gonna do it, but then it's like as soon as he said, oh, like stop, you'll let her, like she's gonna get killed and that's on you if you do, and he's like, oh well, no, I don't know. It was just kind of like, dude, like Marc clearly knows what's going on a little bit, so maybe just take it not with a grain of salt, but maybe should take his lead a little bit more. I think I'm just Team Marc at this episode.
I think you are, because clearly, like if the episode is showing anything, showing how like wrong he is, because one, Layla is also in the know of what's going on. It's just Marc's been keeping her in the dark on a journey that she says that they have been going on for the last few years. So she knows about the Scarab and she knows about like his adventures. He just kind of dropped off the face of the earth on her while also serving her a divorce papers. So it's like, dude, like Marc is clearly like a total dick, and he's like ruining a lot of people's lives. But what I thought was really interesting about that scene with Steve and Layla in his apartment is when Steven's mentioning a lot of these things, like the poetry book that they were reading, and it was a lot of things
hieroglyphs.
The hieroglyphs. It's a lot of things that Layla really liked, and I was like, it kind of like made it seem that Steven's personality, like he's the manifestation of all the things that Marc wishes were his life. Like he, being like this globe-trotting mercenary, he kind of like wishes a simple life. It's like he hasn't. And when he talks about like getting postcards from his mom, and Layla mentions, "Oh, you're talking to your mom again." It's like Steven has a relationship with his mom that I guess Mark sort of like deep down wants. So it was just very interesting of like almost revealing a lot of character about Mark without necessarily like giving us a lot of exposition.
No, yeah, I was immediately thinking about that too. I was like, so this personality spawned from her, which is like, okay, so he does care about her, but yeah, no, he's this was I was thinking about it right before we started. I was like, this is the first show that the main characters for you are almost borderline unlikable. Like especially Mark and Khonshu, where it's like, dude, you guys are just assholes, man.
Yeah, Khonshu's a monster.
And Steven, like, I do feel bad for Steven again. This is just me. Not everybody has to agree, but it's like, Steven, you're just a sad sack too, man. But it's not completely your fault. Obviously, Mark and Khonshu are putting your personality through this, and it's just splitting my brain. Like, who's really the owner of that body? Is it Mark? Is it Steven? Like, who is who in the zoo, man? And so it's just tearing my brain apart. But the rest of the episode progressed pretty well, especially when those like two detective constables come to get him. And I just kept thinking of Hot Fuzz.
This whole time I'm thinking about different Hot Fuzz, especially with the living statue that he keeps on visiting. Talking
yeah, exactly. He just
gives him a hug and stuff. Like, he like almost breaks character.
11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. It's like, okay, dude, who cares? He's a mime. That's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then we find out that Ethan Hawke's like weird temple thing from the last episode's all in the UK. Like, okay, cool. That would explain why there's so many people with those tattoos there. I thought he just had like a way longer reach. And I think the country they were in the last episode, I want to say it was Sweden. Not entirely sure.
Or Budapest. I don't remember. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't remember. I kind of wish I wish I knew, but that was a pretty interesting conversation. It was a very good way of like, man, do I agree with the villain more so right now? Like, he's helping this community. They're all doing well. And, everybody's thriving. What were you going to say? I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah, no. And then, like, just, like, the way he's presenting everything. Like, he's, like, again, there's something very much wrong with him because you have that unnerving feeling that, like, this is, like, a cult leader. But when he mentions that he was the previous avatar of Khonshu, that was, like, oh, shit, like, that's a big reveal. Like, he kind of knows what Mark and Steven are going through, having, I guess, gone through this at some point in the past. But yeah, it's like, oh shit, like he's coming from a perspective of he knows what's going on, and it's like the way he calls on a lot of the things that Khonshu says when Khonshu's like, tear down break his windpipe and stuff, like just yelling like a lot of like violent things, like sort of like in a Venom sort of way.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly Venom. Like, it's just get out get out of my life.
But yeah, the way he presented a lot of his arguments, like I could see why a lot of people would follow him. It's like he's very charismatic and he presents these sort of things as things that should be acceptable. But when Steven pushes back, like I kind of draw the line at killing children, like that are innocent. It's like, dude, yeah, straight up, like that's what it comes down to.
This just kind of harkened back to our relation to Winter Soldier last episode with the whole
Project Insight.
Project Insight. I almost forgot it again. Thank you.
And it's sort of like Minority Report a bit too,
A little bit. Minority Report was definitely like I definitely agree with that until obviously shit happened. But this one was like when he starts really breaking down because Marc keeps pushing him to like, let me take over. Open the suit. Get the suit. And it's like, well, wait a sec. I like how he actually thought about that. It's like, well, wait a second. So if you're just judging people on stuff they haven't done yet, like technically that's innocent. Exactly like Cap would think, like, well, they're innocent until proven guilty. Like this isn't freedom. This isn't justice. This is just, putting your thumb down on people. And it's like,
yeah, who have the potential to change or make different decisions, But we would never know because they got ripped away from them.
Yeah, and then he had a good point. It's like the thought of like, dude, I can think about killing my boss all the time. Doesn't mean I'm actually going to do it. It's just a way to release your frustration. But, some people may, like, religions or something may look as that, like, no, you shouldn't be thinking that. It's like, we're only human. So I thought that was a very good, like, argument for that Steven came to that realization, like, okay, good, you're not completely pathetic.
Yeah, he has a really strong moral compass, and I like that about him. You know, like again, like he's a sweetheart to a fault almost.
Yeah.
Like you said, like I guess to an annoying fault.
Yeah. No, like I said, it's just because again, I think I'm more just Team Mark and anything. That's why I'm like, dude, Mark obviously knows how to handle the situation. Just let him kind of take over. But at the same time, I understand why he's like that, because it's like, dude, you're fucking with my life. This is the body I'm in. Stop trying to take over my life, essentially. So I do agree with it. It's just like, it was just a little annoying for me. But the rest of it was pretty great. Just seeing like the jackal coming out again, except we actually got to see how he came out, so that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And Layla completely knows everything about Moon Knight and all that stuff. I thought, okay, damn,
and she can
like
hold
his
her own
psychic.
too in a fight.
Yeah, she was badass when she just beat that dude and threw him across. Even he's like, that was awesome.
Yeah, she's like the whole time she's trying to get him like summon the suit. He's like I can, and she's just like beating up Fubu's, like protecting him essentially. It's like, oh shit, like okay, Layla, you know, maybe you should have the suit. Although you know that's probably not a good idea because Khonshu's a bit of a monster.
Khonshu is just a kind of a very
A vengeful spirit.
Almost like a stereotypical god, where it's like, dude, my way or the highway. I don't give a shit what you're gonna do about it. And it's like, okay, well, that's why I don't want you anywhere near her. But we finally got to see Mr. Knight from the posters, which I was like,
yeah,
okay, that makes sense. Where it's not, it's Steven's version of the Moon Knight essentially. So I thought it was pretty cool, and it was pretty funny. Where very interesting that they did it. You didn't see the jackal for majority of the fight. That it's all from Layla's perspective. I thought that was it was weird. It wasn't bad. It was just different. Like, okay, this is interesting, because usually they'll do it for like a couple shots and then go back to the jackal, but we didn't see it till Steven really took control of the fight. And his float like a butterfly, sting like a V, I'm Steven with the V. I thought that was like, that's a good pep talk, man, keep going with that. And then him and Marc kind of bonded after he punched it, but the thing was beating his ass into the bus, and he's like, that was a good hit back there, but let me take over. And I, you know, for a little bit, he's like, fine. And that was even cooler transformation too, where Marc takes over and the suit, just literal suit, actually becomes the knight suit. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And the white eyes effect. Yeah, I was digging that the whole time. And Layla immediately knew, like, okay, yeah, get him away from here. Do what you got to do. Mm-hmm. And that was a pretty epic, pretty cool little chase scene. Very well done. And
yeah, nice little chase across the rooftops and stuff. Getting to see like a little bit more of what Moon Knight's power set is. You know, like he definitely has enhanced like effects to him. But yeah, that shot when after he grabs the thing midair and slams it onto that whatever that little post was, and
yeah,
such a cool shot where you see it in the moons in the background. I was like, oh, this is art.
Yeah, I'm like, that's Moon Knight right there. And I actually think this is my favorite part of the whole episode, just their little their final argument. But what were you gonna say, Bern? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I guess just quickly, I just wanted to make mention that I do really like the creative choices that they're making with the big action sequences, because you know, it being a TV show, the budget is a little bit more limited. It seems like they've found a creative way around that, and you know, I can totally understand if people have issues with it, because a lot of the action sequences are a little bit gimmicky, because like, you know, in the last one we got to, you know, see it only from Steven's perspective, so we only saw the aftermath of like the car chases and stuff, and then this one we see it from Layla's perspective, where we don't see the creature and we just see like what's happening as if someone were, you know, on the outside looking in. So with that, you know, they're saving money on budget and stuff, and the way they're using it, I feel like it's a nice creative decision, but I don't blame anyone for not necessarily loving it. I really like it because I like, you know, them getting creative with the action sequences. But if people would want a little bit more traditional fight scenes, I can totally get that too.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm fine with what we have, just because it's interesting. It works for the story. Like I said, it's different, but again, it makes sense for what's going on with the characters and stuff. So I'm digging it so far, and that is a good point. That is a good way to save budget, because it's like, oh yeah, that would be a lot cheaper than trying to do like CGI stuff the whole time. Yeah, that would just make it way more expensive than it needs to be. But I like that their last argument, like Steven's trying to break back in. Marc was again the asshole that here was like, no, I'm in control now. Like, you're kind of gonna have to get used to being the like basically just saying like, dude, all your energy is just going to being in my head. That's it. It's like, wow, that's pretty cold. But at the same time, Marc has been doing that for like the last couple episodes too, which has spanned a couple days or like a week. So, I mean, we don't know how long they've been in this whole fighting for the body situation. You know what I mean? So that's
Right.
That's kind of an interesting way to do the story too. Like Marc has been a fugitive for God knows how long, and Steven's been Steven for I don't know. We don't know the whole truth behind it. So that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, my theory is that the Steven personality manifested somewhere around the time where Marc decided to be the avatar for Khonshu. I think because a lot of the reference points seem pretty recent. I think that's a little bit of a sign that's probably when the Steven personality came. Something within the last, maybe couple years or a year. I don't know how long Marc's been running around as Moon Knight, but I don't think it's been fairly that long.
For sure, yeah. I mean, hopefully that doesn't necessarily need to be cleared up. It's just interesting. So maybe we'll find out in the next couple episodes what the timeline's like. And again, this is where I kind of like I said, I'm still Team Marc just because what he's done, like how he's saved him so far, and I'm sure I'll probably hate him once we find out who he really is. But
which is presumably next episode. I think we're gonna get a Marc heavy episode next one.
I think so. Just the way it ended, where him and Steven are arguing. He's like, you're like ruining my personal life. Like I can't sleep. I don't have a date. I have nobody. I'm alone because of you. And you're an asshole to your wife. Like you left her. It's like I didn't leave her. Like. I feel for him on that. That's like the hero side of Marc is the hero side of the story, where Steven's kind of like the innocent bystander, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna torture you. Like basically, I'm gonna be in your head. Like I'm gonna get my body back, and he smashes it, and Khonshu just, oh my god, this is the point where I really hated Khonshu, where he's like, oh, you messed up. Like you let him get in the way. They have the scarab now. I think you won't like my next choice for the night, but because she's so important, it's like. Oh,
what a dick move.
What a dick. Like, dude. You oh my gosh. It kind of reminds me of almost like I was trying to think of a comparison for him, almost like Etrigan from DC, where the demon, but the demon's forced to be with the dude, not because he has to. But this is again like the Egyptian Ghost Rider for Marvel. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed we bring in Ghost Rider back, but and then we end the episode on him in Egypt or something like that, like on a bender or something. So I was like, okay, this is again more of the Mummy vibes, and I'm digging it. So
yeah,
I can't,
me too.
Again, I can't wait for next week. It's good to have a show. I think since Peacemaker, I'm like, dude, I'm so excited for next week. Like, I can't wait.
Because at this point it's not like, well, I hope the next one's good. It's like, no, this one's like, I'm really digging the story. I'm really digging the characters, and I just want to know what happens next.
Yeah, Book of Boba Fett was exactly... Even with the last few episodes being really good, it's like I'm still not looking forward to, because it's not Boba Fett. It's the Mandalorian taking over Boba Fett. So, so far we're a third of the way through this series. It's solid. So hopefully the next two acts, the 2/3, can get it right. So, anything else that you caught in this episode or want to point out before we finish up?
No, just sort of speculation that I think, like I was mentioning before, like it seems like this is shaping up to be an origin story for the Stephen Grant personality character. Now that we got to see his Mr. Knight suit manifest itself, so I'm thinking that that this is where the story's going to be. Like Marc's been the hero for a little bit now, and Stephen is the one that's getting the quote unquote origin story and stuff. And yeah, I'm really interested to see what Harrow's deal is. Why he wants the Scarab to bring about Amit. Like it's very interesting to see like where that story's gonna go. So yeah, I'm like you said, I'm very excited for the next one.
I'm thinking, well, if my speculation is like Amit is really gonna screw over Harrow, like Ethan Hawke's character. Or he does know it, but he doesn't care, kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah. I'm curious to see,
because he just kills that one person that picked up the Scarab. He didn't even do the whole thing with the cane and stuff. He just took the life out of that person. So it shows that he's a little bit about his like sort of belief system that at the end of the day he is really just a maniac.
Yeah, I mean, maniac or super manipulated because of his whole judgment thing. But then, yeah, when he sucked the soul out of that dude, it's like, this is all probably feeding Amit. Very much like the soul sucker from Shang-Chi, that nasty bitch.
That soul sucker was such a nasty bitch.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm excited to see what's next. Ranters, what did you guys think of this episode? Have you seen it? Let us know in the comments. What are you thinking about so far? And yeah, let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, guys. Stay bodacious, keep on renting, and we'll definitely talk. We'll see you guys soon for sure.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Doses.